Our focus, it's actually on the homeowner, on the seller. And great investors do that because they understand that when you build good rapport with the seller and provide a solution to them, you get great deals. Hey guys, and it's Whiteacre Properties. I'm back with another episode on our 12 video series, and this is pretty much the whole process we follow here at Whiteacre Properties to get on the right mindset, the winning mindset, all the way to closing a deal, getting a contract signed, buying houses, flipping them, keeping them, and whatever, right? So I wanted to share this with you guys, and we have created these 12 videos. So far, we've gone through things like mindset, the ability to generate leads, generating motivated seller leads, preparing for a seller appointment, and today we're going to talk about how to conduct one-on-one seller appointments with a homeowner. I want to share with you guys actually how I felt during my first appointment. The first house we ever bought was in Wayland, Mass. The seller was out of state. He lived in Florida, and we were buying this house in Massachusetts. So everything we did was over the phone, but I remember the feeling of being scared, being terrified, just not knowing exactly how it worked and what should I say, what should I offer, all of that, right? So it got better for me as we went from one deal to the next, and I got really good at just handling the seller appointments. Even to this day, 8 years later, as a real estate investor, we take coaching, we take classes to really get really good at sales process. Because at the end of the day, real estate investing, it's a people business, but it's also a sales business. Having a process in place and knowing the steps that you got to follow, it's going to make a huge difference. So let me share with you guys how we at Whiteacre handle the face-to-face appointments. So first thing for us is the upfront contract. What I mean by that is on the phone, we prepare the homeowner of what's coming up, what's going to happen during the appointment, right? You got to pretty much let them know that you're going to show up, look at the property. The appointment might take 35 to 45 minutes. We're going to sit down, answer some questions, talk about how the whole process works, and at the end of the appointment, we're going to give them a cash offer. A lot of sellers think that we're going to show up with cash in our suitcase and just give it to them. So you got to make sure that they understand exactly what's going to happen, right? So do that on the phone the day before. Confirm the time that you're going to be there and confirm the steps, what's going to happen during the appointment, because they don't know. They haven't really sold, a ton of houses, maybe one or two, and most people have sold houses with agents. So dealing with a cash investor is very different, and you need to educate them on how that works. One other important step, though, that you got to do over the phone or even as soon as you show up at the house is to tell them, so John, I'm coming to you tomorrow. We're going to go through our process, but I just wanted to make sure that if the house is not a good fit for me, is it okay if I tell you no? And most people will say, yeah, that's fine. I understand that. Now, on the other side, if you don't like our offer or who we are or what we're presenting, is it okay if you tell us no? And they'll be like, yeah, absolutely. Now, on the other side, if you actually like what we're offering, if you like our cash price, if you like our processes, if you like us as a company, are you willing to commit to working with us? Either somebody will say, yes, absolutely. If I like the price, absolutely. And what you guys offer, I'll sign with you. Or they might say something like, well, I'm not ready to make a decision tomorrow because. And this is the important part, because you want to know what that because is, right? A lot of times that means that they are not the only decision maker. It happens to us a lot where it's husband and wife, they own the property, and the husband or the wife is the only one at the appointment. You want to make sure that both decision makers are at the appointment. That's super important. That's why we do the upfront contract. We want to know if someone is going to commit the next day to us. Yes or no is fine, right? We love both options. It's okay if it's a no. We just don't want people to say maybe, right? So we want to address everything up front, and that's why we call it an upfront contract. Now let's talk about the day of the appointment. You're scheduled at 10 a.m., 123 Main Street, and the homeowner is expecting you. First thing you got to do is you got to be on time. 2, bring that winning mindset with you. If you don't know what that is, go back to that episode 1 that I did, because you got to be on the right mindset when we go on this seller appointment. And just dress properly. You don't need to overdress. We typically think of who we're meeting, and we want to just be dressed just a little bit better than someone that's in their house, right? So we don't go on suit and ties by any means, but just business casual is fine. So be on time, good attitude, good mindset, and dress appropriately. You meet somebody, the most important thing to do at this point is really to build a rapport. Average investors, when they go on face-to-face appointments, they focus on the house. They're looking at what's wrong with the house, they're looking at everything that's around them, they're taking pictures of everything that's broken. We don't do that. Our focus, it's actually on the homeowner, on the seller. And great investors do that because they understand that when you build good rapport with the seller and provide a solution to them, you get great deals. So you are meeting somebody, they already know that they have to show you the house, right? You told them on the phone the day before, and as you go through the rooms, again, your focus, and you can take a bunch of pictures because that pictures will be important. Typically for us, we say, Mr. Seller, do you mind if I take some pictures? I look at a lot of houses and I forget what I see. So is it okay? Definitely ask permission when you are taking pictures because it's their home. They might be against that, right? And then you're going through the rooms. And I think the goal, and for us, that's at least how we handle it. The goal for us is to look at what's on the wall, what's in that room, but mostly to start a conversation. So if they have kids and they have their kids' pictures on the wall, so we talk about kids, right? I got 2 kids myself, so that's a common theme I can talk about. So that's super important that you build rapport based on the seller's interest and again, what you see in the room. Idea behind building rapport with somebody is that the homeowner will do business with someone they like and trust, right? So you want to be able to build that trust with them because down the road you're going to talk about price and things like that, and you're going to be a lot more likely to get a deal if someone likes and trusts it. One quick tip I want to share with you guys is that when you actually start the tour of the house, if you brought a folder or if you brought a bag or whatever you brought with you or a jacket, put that in the living room or the kitchen. And the reason why we do that is that typically when we go through the tour of the property, we end up either in the attic or we end up in the basement or we end up outside, right? That's where the tour ends. So you go through the rooms, you end up in the attic, and if you are done, you really don't want to start talking about the cash offer or the solutions that you're going to provide them in the attic or in the basement where it's so cold or outside because it's just not a comfortable environment. Most people, including me, make our decisions in the dining room or kitchen table or in our living room, right? So that's where you want to actually sit down and focus and talk about the offer with the seller. You don't want to do that outside. So regardless where the tour of the house ends, you guys should go back to the living room or kitchen, wherever you put your jacket or your folder, right? Bring them back to that area. Get comfortable because the way we handle our seller appointments is really not to just give them a cash offer and be like, hey, thank you for showing me around. Here's a cash offer for $300,000. We don't do that, right? Our approach is very different. We call it the consultative approach. What I mean by that is that you are sitting down, you looked at the house, but now you have some questions. And typically our questions are very open-ended. So, Mr. Seller, tell me, why am I even here today? Like, why did you decide to sell, right? So open-ended because you want to understand what their situation is in order to provide a solution to them. Good investors understand that it's not only about price. Yes, a lot of homeowners really want to sell for top dollars, but it's not only about price. You want to understand their family situation, what is important to them at their point in their life, right? So all the pain points, you need to understand those. And you do that through open-ended questions. So things like, how soon are you looking to sell? Why not list with an agent? I was actually afraid of asking that questions in the beginning because I just didn't want to bring an agent up. I was thinking that as a cash investor, I didn't need to talk about the agent at all. But it's important to talk about agents because the agents handle the listings very differently than a cash offer, right? And I want to know what the seller thinks about that. If they hired someone to put it on the MLS, what they like about that process or what they don't like about the process. So we ask that question. Things like, where are you going next? That is important, right? Because someone that actually is thinking about selling will have a plan of what's coming next. So those type of questions are important, and sometimes you have to ask it a couple different ways to really get the correct answer, the honest answer from the seller. Because only if you know what they're going through, then you can provide a solution. What I mean by this, we go on seller appointments sometime where the homeowner wants to move, but all the equity, all the money they have, it's in the house, right? They don't have a lot in savings or checking account, but they have a ton of equity in the house. They might have no mortgage at all, and let's say the house is worth $400,000. So that's all the cash they got. And if I understand that, and I understand that they need money in order to buy the next property, I can say something like, great, I understand you want to go to Maine, you're buying in Maine because you love it there and it's cheaper, but you need some money now to put a down deposit on the next house, right? Great. Let's structure the deal that way, where maybe with the purchase and sale agreement, I can give you $100,000 that you can use for the purchase of the next house. Or we have done things like, hey, Mr. Seller, why don't you sell to Whiteacre now, stay in the house for 3 months or whatever time they need, get the cash from the sale, and then buy the next house, right? This will only come up if you listen to them. It's super important. I think during the seller appointment, this time and the type of questions you ask, the quality of the questions you ask is the most important part. So all the questions that you're asking and all the answers that you're getting are pretty much helping you provide a solution to the homeowner. And that's it. That's all it is. You're just asking some really good questions and listening and taking notes, because based on what they're telling you, you need to pretty much put an offer together that addresses those questions. That's why it's really not important to just throw a number at somebody and walk out the door, right? That's not the best way to do it. Your chance of success are drastically going to drop at that point. And that's why we call it the consultative approach. You know, think of it as a doctor's appointment. When you go to the doctor, they don't just give you medicine, you know, for whatever pain you got. They really have some questions. They want to understand, you know, what's wrong with you, you know, how much pain you got and all that stuff. And they'll provide you a solution after that. So we handle it the same way. All right, so now that they pretty much told you everything, you got all the information you need, now is the time for you to give them a cash offer. We bring our contracts with us. Before we fill everything out, though, we say, John, thank you for sharing all that. I really appreciate it. I think we're a good fit for you, and I would love to buy the house. So make sure that other than price, you mention the benefit of the cash offer. As is, right? So no inspections, no contingencies on mortgage, meaning you don't have a bank, so you're not relying on a bank to approve your mortgage or appraise the property. Have the seller choose the closing date. They can close in a week or in 6 months, right? So we have a lot of flexibility. Make sure they understand that they don't need to clean everything. They can take what they want and leave what they don't, right? They can leave all their junk behind. So we're making it extremely easy. So don't just mention price, mention also the other benefits, because it's super important. And then wait. Then you just gotta be quiet, because you wanna see the feedback from the other side, right? That's super important. You realize that I didn't give an exact number because I really wanted to know what the seller's number is. And typically before giving our number, we always ask, one of the main questions we ask is, how much are you looking to sell for? I forgot to mention this earlier to you guys, but when we are asking those open-ended questions, one of the things we ask is, how much are you looking to sell the house for? Some sellers understand the negotiations and they don't want to be the first one to mention the number, and that's fine, but we always get back to them. Hey, give me a range, right? Give me a price range from this to that, because I need to know where you at in order to come up with, you know, a price that makes sense for both. Some people will be like, well, you called me or you sent me a letter, you give me a price. Again, you don't want to give up on that. You're like, well, if you go buy a house, on the MLS, there is a price. If you go buy a car, on the car lot, there is a price on the windshield. So there's different ways of going back to them about getting a range, a price range, even if it's not an exact number. But if they don't give you a number, you give them an idea of where you're coming at and wait for a reaction. So that's how we handle it. We typically wait to see if they're ready to make a deal. We ideally want to get a contract signed that day, right? Don't walk away without it. You already have the contract. You already have the check there for the deposit. You want to get the deal done. So there's two outcomes at that point. Either they're going to sign with you, or they're going to say something like, well, let me think about it for a couple days. So guys, what we talked about today is 3 things that you got to do in order to really have a great seller appointment and increase your chances of getting the deal signed. 1 is build rapport with the homeowner, right? Have them trust and like you. 2 is provide a solution to them, to the seller, and you do that by listening and having open-ended questions, having some good questions. And 3, if you come to an agreement, have the contract with you, have a check with you, and get the deal signed, right? Don't wait for a second appointment to do that. Be prepared, get it signed. So by now you have realized that having a sale process is super important. We do have a process that we follow consistently, but we are also getting coaching and training from others. And I would like you guys to also do that and learn more how to really get better at seller appointments, because any tweaks that you make there to get better, it's going to increase your chances of getting this deal signed on the spot. Go follow someone like John Martinez at the REI Sales Academy. We have got John's training, and every Thursday, actually, if you come to our office, you're going to see him on the screen because we get coaching from him, right? So we go through his program to really get better at this face-to-face seller appointment. appointment. That's how much importance we put into this. But he got a lot of free videos on his YouTube channel, so go follow John Martinez at his channel. That's my quick tip for the day, and hopefully you guys get really, really good at this process. If you like what I'm sharing, please just subscribe, hit that bell button, and just comment below. What are you thinking? How do you guys handle your appointments? Tell me if I'm doing something wrong or what I should add to my process here, but I'd love to hear your feedback. All right, guys, see you on the next one.